Lagos, indigenously called Eko, has rich cultural heritage and a long list of legendary figures that drafted the plans and plains of Lagos and turning lagoon to luxury through strategic economic planning, convoluted in a long history marked by the exploits made by past heroes and heroines who have forever planted their footprints in the sand of time and etched their stories in the lengthy volume of the pages in the history and origin of Lagos.
Esteemed viewers, Eko Hot Blog is reporting live from Global Memorial Hall, Custom Street Marina, Lagos Island, Lagos State, Nigeria for King Kosoko Memorial Lecture. It is an annual gathering set to honor the life and legacy of King Kosoko, organized by King Kosoko royal family. His prosperity enjoyed during his tenure and his impact in this region. Its aim is to focus on the socio-political development, bring together scholars, cultural enthusiasts and dignitaries. During the King Kosoko regime, Lagos economy experienced both prosperity and decline, which brings to this year's theme called Tale of Prosperity and Decline. Stay tuned as Eko Hot Blog brings you live coverage of this event as it unfolds. I am Inumidun Jolugo reporting for Eko Hot Blog.
Eko Hot Blog brings to you an exclusive coverage of an in-depth dive into the legends of one of the giants in the history of Eko Lagos, King Kosoko, the 10th king of Lagos and the first Oloja, whose legends and tales echoes from generation to generation. On the occasion of the annual memorial of King Kosoko at Global Memorial Hall, Custom Street, Marina, Lagos Island, Lagos State. Distinguished guests and dignitaries have honored the invite to come pay tribute to the legacy of King Kosoko. Among those present are the Olu-Ekpe of Ekpe, Oba Shefiu Olatunji Adewale, and the Olu-Ekpe in Kansu, Oba Olufolarin Olukayode Ogunsanwo, the 55th Alara of Ilara Kingdom, the Olu of Agboyi Kingdom, Oba Munsuru Abimbola Oladega, the Oni-to-omu of Ito-omu land, Oba Taiwo Gbadamosi, Honourable Wale Raji representing the Ekpe Constituency, Chief Abiola Dosumu, the Erelu the Fort of Lagos, Pa Tajudeen Oluyole Olusi, Chairman of Governors Advisory Council, Lagos State, Minister of Tourism, Mrs. Lola Ade-John, Mrs. Toke Benson-Awoyinka, Commissioner for Tourism, Arts and Culture of Lagos State, H.R.H. Alhaji Muhammad Abubakar Bambado, the second Seriki Fulani of Lagos, members of Ogunmadede Club of Ekpe, and various other notable figures. First off, there was a meet and greet session as dignitaries majestically walked into the lecture hall, exchanged pleasantries among one another in a warmly and cordial manner, as the atmosphere was filled with frenzy while music filled the air. Master of Ceremony, Mr. Olarewaju Fadelaye, welcomed everyone to the event, which was themed Lagos Economy During the Era of King Kosoko, a tale of prosperity and the decline.
Chairman, House Committee on Tourism, Arts and Culture, Chairman of our local government and local council development areas here present, members of the statutory commissions both at the federal level and the state level, members of the body of permanent secretaries here present, the chairman GAC, Lagos State, our chief host, the Olatunji-elect, Prince Abiola Kosoko, our guest lecturers, our chief launcher, the Ilara General, in particular the Ilara of Eko, members of the King Kosoko family, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the King Kosoko descendants, I'd like to welcome you to the year 2024 King Kosoko Memorial Lecture with the theme, The Lagos Economy in the Era of King Kosoko, a Talent of Prosperity and the Decline.
The event began with an opening prayer by the Grand Chief Imam of Ekpe, Sheikh Abdurrahman Sadala, setting the stage for a profound and engaging discussion.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ijajoko aki Ọlọ́run aki Ànábì Muhammad aki pé èyí tí wọ́n pè náà ni Ọlọ́run ní kẹ́ ráyè wá síbí báyìí aba dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run pé ọjọ́ náà péré yìí Ọlọ́run ò mọ̀ ṣe láṣẹ fún ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan wa aki gbogbo àwọn orí adé tí wọ́n wá bí báyìí bàbá ọdún ẹ̀pẹ́ ọ̀fọ̀ ẹ̀pẹ́ bí wọ́n sọ èdè àárín ọ̀pẹ́ àtàwọn olórí àti àwọn olóyè wa látòkè lókè bí wọ́n sọ èdè ara wọn náà pẹ́ gbogbo àwọn ọba tí wọ́n wá bí bàbá wa wòye náà lákì táwọn ní káwọn dárúkọ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kọ̀ọ̀kan ọjọ́ máa lọ àwọn ọlọ́run tí wọ́n gbogbo wa subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin sallu ala nabiyyil karim.
The Oloja-elect of Lagos, Prince Abiola Kosoko, a member of the royal descendants of the revered King Kosoko, the chief host of the event, delivered a moving opening speech.
Distinguished guests, esteemed dignitaries and honored attendees, permit me to adopt the already established protocol. On behalf of the King Kosoko royal family and the King Kosoko Memorial Museum, I warmly welcome you to this significant event, the King Kosoko Memorial Lecture 2024, the second in its series, with this year's theme, The Lagos Economy During the Era of King Kosoko, a tale of prosperity and the decline. We are gathering today to pay a tribute to the remarkable legacy of King Kosoko, a visionary leader who shaped the economic landscape of Lagos, This lecture series is aimed to explore the high and low of his era, offering valuable insights into the city's rich history. Today's program will feature paper presentation by renowned experts, a panel discussion with distinguished panelists picked from senior citizens of Lagos. The launch of the book, King Kosoko, is life, its people, and its settlements. Your participation and support means the world to us. Let us come together to celebrate King Kosoko, enduring impact on Lagos and exploring the lesson of his era as a guide to the future. It is under this directive of the councils of the heads of the King Kosoko royal family that I make this opening representation with a strong reference as a special representative of the descendants of King Kosoko, the 10th King of Lagos and the first Lord of Lagos. Thank you, and let the program begin. Thank you so much.
The event was focused on taking a deep dive into the significant period in Lagos history through the lens of attitudes academician, particularly on Lagos socio-economy development under King Kosoko regime. The program featured detailed presentation exploring King Kosoko's life and legacy. After the homely rendition of the opening speech done by chief host of the event, Prince Abiola Kosoko, then lectures for the day began as esteemed speakers examined the economic prosperity of Lagos during King Kosoko's era and the subsequent decline. Professor David Alara began the first lecture. It discussed the state of Lagos economy during King Kosoko era, tracing its transformation from a pepper trade hub to a burgeoning mega city. He highlighted the impact of the Portuguese arrival in 1472 and the dominance of cowries as a medium of exchange, the boom in slave trade at Lagos coastal borderline, which brought in great revenue at that time until it was abolished in 1807.
When Lagos was established in the 15th century, the economic activities revolved around fishing and farming. And that was made possible by the geography of Lagos. Lagos is just by the Atlantic, and also it is also by the Lagos Lagoon and the Lekki Lagoon. The water area, the lagoons and the ocean created the environment for people to be able to fish. They were also able to farm because Lagos has land on the mainland and down to the interior. Which is why when we hear the statements from the pepper farm to the mega city, it is not a conjecture and it is not concocted. It arises from the fact that Aromire, one of the children of Olufolarin, who is credited for founding Lagos, planted pepper somewhere on Lagos Island where Igaidugoron is now located. So it is not just a mere comment that Lagos extended from a pepper farm and became a mega city over several centuries. What that means is that the people of Lagos engaged in farming in addition to fishing in the early period of the existence of the town. Lagos established contact with Europeans very early because of its location. The first Portuguese to arrive in Lagos came in 1472. That was towards the end of the 15th century. The Portuguese engaged in informal trade. They bought products such as pepper, ivory, woods, which were used to make dye, gold, and other things they could find along the lagoons and the Atlantic. The Portuguese engaged in this informal trade, but in the years that followed, other Europeans joined. The English came in the 16th century and continued the informal trade that the Portuguese had been involved in up to that time. The British, Thomas Wyndham, sailed to the coast of West Africa, arrived Lagos in 1553, and then made it to Benin the same year. Many other Europeans came after this, and they continued the informal trade in pepper, in camwood, and all of those items they bought. Of course, they also brought European-made items during the period, and then cowries became dominant as the years progressed. The pattern of the economy of Lagos began to change in the 17th century when the slave trade became introduced. Slaves or humans were needed to work on the farms and in the mines in the Americas. And Africans were thought to be well suited for that economy. Arising from that, the slave trade began to take roots along the coast of West Africa down to Angola. And Lagos became a major player in this trade. Initially, it was wider somewhere in modern-day Benin Republic, in what was then called Ito-omu, and Alara, not far from there, that were the main ports. But certain disruptions from there made Lagos to become important towards the end of the 18th century, such that Lagos then became a hub of the slave trade during this period. Some scholars, such as Christine Mann and Robin Law, have attempted to establish the growth, expansion, and importance of Lagos to the slave trade. For instance, in one of her works, Christine Mann writes, and I quote, "The momentous birth of this now vast metropolis, that is Lagos, will shape the lives of its inhabitants for decades to come, such as our lives today, can be traced to the time of slavery and abolition." End of quote. Robin Law draws similar conclusion regarding the impact of the slave trade on the growth and expansion of Lagos. It is important that slaves were not captured from Lagos. The slaves always came from the interior, but Lagos, because of its strategic location, became a hub for the exports of slaves. There is an island just along the lagoon here called Ide. That was one of the places where slaves were kept before they were exported to the Americas in the course of the 17th and 18th centuries, even up to sometime in the 19th century. Lagos witnessed a great deal of upheaval in the early 19th century. There were issues about succession to the throne of Lagos. But somehow, Lagos was able to overcome the succession disputes that characterized the period. King Kosoko of the Esilekun family became king in 1845. He was also an active participant in the slave trade. The British abolished the slave trade in 1807 because slave trade had become anachronistic in the world of that time. The Industrial Revolution began in England around 1750, and by the end of the 18th century, slaves were no longer required in large numbers. King Kosoko was defeated after that war, 27th of December 1851. He took refuge in Ekpe, where he occupied one part of Ekpe after the intervention of the Awujale. History reveals that Kosoko continued his trade there. Incidentally, Kosoko himself Now, from that point onwards, since the slave trade was now controversial and problematic, also began to shift to the export of other items apart from slave. Records reveal that. And many of the 3,000 who followed him there also engaged in other trade other than slaves. So Lagos was prosperous until Kosoko was defeated and left as King of Lagos in 1851. But there's a second part of the topic for this lecture, and that is the decline. So that raises the question, was there a decline in Lagos after 1851? Records show that there was no decline. The slave trade began to be reduced, and the British fought it. They established a naval squadron to patrol the waters, and by the 1860s, 1870s, 1880s, the slave trade had waned drastically. But was there really a decline in the economy of Lagos? Records incidentally reveals that there was no decline as such. Lagos made a transition from the slave trade to the trade in primary products towards the end of the 19th century. And this made the prosperity of Lagos to continue after 1851. The analysis of the economy of Lagos during this period reveals that there were many European companies, many of them, John Holt, UAC, and the rest of them, who also shifted to the trade in palm kernel, the trade in palm oil, the trade in cocoa, the trade in rubber, and before you knew it, Lagos adjusted to the change, such that one could not really notice a major downturn in the economy of Lagos. The economy of Lagos did not experience a toboggan slide on account of the abolition of the slave trade. John Holt, for instance, began to operate in Fernando and then moved to Lagos in 1887 and began to trade in all of these things and contributed to the prosperity of Lagos. Professor Anthony Hopkins, a major researcher on the economy of Lagos and the economy of West Africa, has a book that was published just a few weeks ago. The book, titled Capitalism in the Colonies, African Merchants in Lagos, 1851 to 1931, is an analysis of indigenous merchants in Lagos. Professor Anthony Hopkins highlights, analyzes, and establishes the impact of these indigenous merchants in Lagos on the Lagos economy in the second of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century. Anthony Hopkins identifies 100 indigenous merchants, 100. And his conclusion is that these indigenous merchants made extensive contribution to the economy of Lagos in the aftermath of the abolition of the slave trade.
Then Professor Abib Sani took the second lecture, noting that King Kosoko was a man of valor and a highly strategic king during his time. Digressing a bit into the origin of Lagos by discussing the kings before King Kosoko and their exploits, such as Oba Akin Shemoyin, among others, while noting that the slave trade had begun long before King Kosoko became king. King Kosoko is regarded as one of the Africa's wealthiest kings. He somewhat resisted the British invasion until he was eventually subdued by stronger war machineries.
I start by looking at from the origin of Lagos. And gbogbo nǹkan tó ń wọ́n máa ń sọ pa origin ni wípé ta ló dé kúlẹ̀. Lórí eléyìí, àwọn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ historians àti local àti academic historians láti kọ̀wé ń pa ẹ̀. We can talk of J.B. Wood. We can talk of J.B. Losi. We can talk of our own H.R.H. Fasinro. We can also talk of our own, we can talk of Professor Wale and several other people, including myself. I have written about the early history of Lagos, and the perception had always been that the founders of Lagos were Agboyi and Benin, followed by other people. We cannot do a detail of that in this paper, in the sense that these are well-known history of Lagos. But what I am trying to put forward here is that Lagos started gradually as an hybrid of Awori and Benin community and blossomed until the era of Akinsemoyin. What am I saying? Before Akinsemoyin, there were one or two kings, and Ashipa was said to be the one that was sent from Benin. After there was Ado and Obagabaro. At Gabaro's reign, what became the traditional hierarchy today of 4 groups of chieftaincy were established, and I am talking of the Akari Bey, which is the upper class, the Ade-John, who are considered the landowners, the Ogalade, who are the traditional diviners and physicians to the order of Lagos, then the H.R.H, who are the warrior class. All of these classes of chiefs were arrayed or were put in place during Gabaro's period. And Akinsemoyin, being a younger brother of Gabaro, felt that his brother king had not done well. Ó wà láàrùn àwọn ìdẹ́jọ́ yẹn, ó ń bá wọn ṣe, ó ń gbà wọn láyè. And because of that, the report goes to Gabaro, who asked him to leave Lagos for him. Akinsemoyin sojourned in Badagry, and especially at Akpa, and he eventually met with the Portuguese slave dealers, because there are a lot of stories about Akinsemoyin that we cannot talk here. Met with the slave dealers who were later invited into Lagos, and they became, and Lagos gradually emerged as an important slave emporium, important center of slave trading activities. And from that period, the kingdom of Lagos became known and became so popular. And you can see a lot of things that Akinsemoyin actually put in place through his ingenuity. When the slave dealers from the interior came, they will stop them somewhere, collect money from them before allowing them to sell their slaves to the Europeans. And the Europeans too will also pay tolls and taxes before being allowed to take these slaves away. Gradually, Akinsemoyin became popular. There are a lot of his retinues, people who are supporters, the chiefs, everybody became so popular with slave trading activities to the extent that Akinsemoyin became known as Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Olówó Èkó, the rich gentleman of Lagos, and part of his origin is clear. Ọmọ Ade-John owó ló jẹ́, ọmọ Adewale Òyìnbó tó dé, and so on and so on. So it was from Akinsemoyin's era that Lagos got involved in slave trade, and the economy of Lagos boomed to the extent that Lagos became different from any other interior Italian community. When our father said that we can take it to that era, that Lagos had no link or was not subservient to any of the hinterland kingdoms. of Yoruba land. So we can look at it from that. Then, with Akishemoyin, what happened was that the stool of the Obaship of Lagos became so important such that successive princes and kings of Lagos had to struggle to get to the throne. So when H.R.H became the king, Kosoko was watching. In fact, he was a major witness of that thing, and so he was also preparing to get to the stool. He had problem after H.R.H. I think the Olufolarin became the next king. After the Olufolarin, Oluwole became the next king. Kosoko engaged Oluwole in a battle that was known as Eko War because he wanted to be king. He failed and he went to Aba. He also had friends with, he also became friendly with the Portuguese and the Brazilians at Aba, and Kosoko gradually prepared for the throne. Rather than being made the king, he was bypassed again, and Akitoye became the king. Kosoko brought prosperity to Lagos, not just for himself, but for a retinue of his followers who cut across different strata of people that were in Lagos at that time. In essence, the decline that Professor Olatunji referred to, and he said Lagos was prospering after Kosoko's return to Lagos. A lot had been said about the Daroshas, the JPL, Labulo Davis, SHPS, and several other, but amongst those people, of course, Oki is the most indigenous Lagos person that benefited from, the so-called legitimate commerce that the British introduced at that period. Aside from the fact that there was prosperity after the return of Kosoko, if Kosoko had not accepted or failed to accept the British Act of Fellowship, which eventually fetched him a sword as a very good British citizen. Eventually, Kosoko was given a sword as a good citizen of the British after he returned to Lagos as an ordinary person. There was a decline, not in the Lagos economy, but in Kosoko's personal economic development and those of his followers. I want to stop at this.
Ms. Shosoya Folashade presented the third lecture focusing on British intervention and territorial control, detailing the 1851 Cession Treaty, land acquisition, free trade rights, and the annexation of Lagos in 1861. She discussed the transition from King Kosoko's resistance to European trading firm to collaboration, which improved Lagos commercial trade.
Being a millennial, please, I would like to seek your indulgence to speak through my slides. Okay, so my topic basically says that the King Kosoko's legacy and the British legal framework in Lagos, exploring the impact of King Kosoko's reign on moderation in the slave trade. I listened attentively to Professor Sonny talking about the slave trade and what they did, which was in the 19th century, airport targeted the Atlantic slave trade influencing the West. The second line there says the quest of economic controlling British policies and interactions with global kingdoms. And if you look at that slide, we had a different level. the economic governance strategies, the colonial that have been highlighted, job reports, appointment at the council, and Akitoye library. Well, from what I learned today, or that I've heard today, is that maybe a woman was the issue, but that would be for the elders to unravel for us. The British capitalized on the rivalry between Kosoko and Akitoye to maneuver political control, leading to Kosoko's deposition. Then thereafter installed Akitoye because it was more compliant with the British. Next slide. So from the legal perspective, that's why I'm bringing out the Concession Treaty of 1851, which shows the following: the free trade rights, the tariff exemption, monopoly in certain goods, exclusive trading privileges, and land acquisition.
Professor Adewale followed with an analysis of the British attack on Lagos in 1851, noting King Kosoko's strategic prowess and the eventual British victory due to superior weaponry.
The reason why I'm here is to now talk about the economy of Lagos during the period of the Kosoko era. Now, Professor has actually explained what he even gave us a solid historical background in talking about Lagos economy. Professor Sani Abi was the minister of both the economic and political. Yeah, let me just emphasize the impact of that Kosoko period on Lagos history. And I wonder why most historians don't actually tell about that. And that particular thing I'm going to emphasize now. One, between 1945 and 51, the activities of Kosoko was what made Lagos to be independent of the Benin finally. If not for the activity of Kosoko, Benin would still have been exercising its sovereignty over Lagos. How? I'm sure that's the question you actually asked. Remember then you said you cannot be living in Lagos if you are not given that thing, the authority from Benin. Even as a matter of fact, all the Lagos kings, when you die, you have to take it to Benin. And when you take the Oba to Benin, the new Oba must collect the sound of office before you actually recognize. That was the tradition. But then, when Kosoko emerged as the king of Lagos, and Akitoye was now trying to get his throne back, he had to go to the British. And like I explained before earlier, he lied to the British that he was not a slave trader, he was interested in ending the slave trade, that if the British would not allow him to become the Oba of Lagos, he would help them in stamping out the slave trade. Now the British helped him eventually. They attacked Lagos, and by 1851 they stamped out they removed the Kosoko and stamped out the trade. And in the process, Akitoye was allowed to have his independence. In fact, he said he hoisted his flag in Lagos when they returned back to the throne, effectively signaling that end to the reign, the effective rule of the Benin in Lagos. I think Kososo should actually be recognized there for that. If not for his activity, Lagos would have that continually to be. That is one. Two, what they both emphasize about Kosoko, and I found that strange again, was that King Kosoko was a very wonderful strategist, a beautiful strategist. What we call the modern warfare, there are tactics, there are things you do to defend your area from attack. Lagosians were good in naval warfare. They didn't call it naval warfare back then. Lagosians were like those in the interior of Roma, which are on land mowers. They love to fight on land. Lagosians were extremely good when it comes to fighting on water. I'm just saying, that was why Sonny and you refer to him as a pirate. Pirates don't fight on land, they fight on water. In fact, it was effective. The man was able to effectively block it. That trade coming from the interior, from getting to the British, I was just training everybody on that water. My point is, King Kosoko was a good military strategist. And what do I mean by this? When the British attacked them there in 1831 November, the Professor actually made a mention to, they were soundly defeated. And they had to go back. Like they say in Yoruba, to ferry. So they had to go back. Even they were furious in Britain that one tall world king, a nobody on the world map, was able to defeat the British army. So they had to reinforce and come back by that December 1851 to bombard them, Lagos. And when they eventually landed in Lagos, and this was why I said the man was a good strategist. And like I said, I don't know why they don't understand this aspect of something. The British commander that led that naval invasion of Lagos, he marveled at the defenses that they put up in Lagos. That if not for the fact that, let me emphasize, if not for the fact that the British had better guns, it would have been extremely difficult for them to take over Lagos. What do I mean by better guns? Two types of guns back then. There's what you call the side loader. I think we call it the muskets. Muskets are those ones that you load from the mouth. Where when you shoot that thing, when you shoot that something, to reload that thing, you have to put the thing from the mouth. Then you ram that thing down. I mean, it takes 1 second to fire that thing. About 10 minutes, you are still trying to put it. The British warriors came with what we call Enfield, their side loaders. You load it from the side, and it has a better advantage. So when you shoot the first one, that is the musket that they had in Lagos, and everything, then the ring was also reloaded. Probably about some maybe 1 feet or thereabout. So this was exactly what the British did. They left on their horses when they invaded Lagos. Rather than them to get too close to the shore, no, they stayed on water and they started firing their artillery into Lagos. That was how they were able to attack Lagos for the second time.
Alhaji Usman Umar discussed the significant role and impact of Fulani leaders, emperors, and chiefs on commercial activities, including cattle rearing and market operations, and their evident influence in Lagos history.
The Fulani were warmly received by the Yorubas. They were engaged in trading Adire from Congo, Brazzaville, and Kinshasa, Ashoke from Abeokuta, Hausa design materials, cars, royal dresses, livestock transportation, and currency exchange were all part of what they do. Usman Jannaki, who is the father of the renowned Alhaji Widi Jello, who passed away some years ago, was the first Fulani to settle at number 7 Kosoko Court, Lagos. Through him, more people came to Lagos, settled in Kosoko Court and the surroundings. They hired and then made number 9 Kosoko Court their mosque. That is where they conduct the 5 daily prayers. And the mosque also served the purpose of a swing shop, meeting venue, currency exchange businesses, and trading items like sewed cloths. Fulani spirit of unity, brotherhood, commitments, hard work, trustworthy, generosity, concern for all, teamwork, and religious tolerance contributed to the development of business in the entire area and surroundings.
Chief Abiola Dosumu, the Erelukuti IV of Lagos, reflected on King Kosoko's legacy, emphasizing the importance of recounting our ancestry stories and preserving our heritage for future generations. She praised Lagos' historical significance in shaping Nigeria. She highlighted the widespread controversy about Lagos being a no-man's land was due to the neglect of the indigenous people of Lagos in telling and promoting the history and origin of Lagos.
We have such a beautiful, beautiful heritage, beautiful legacies that have been left for us. by our ancestors. We don't tell our stories often enough. And when the Olada elect came to me and told me about this program, I thought, fantastic, we should see many more like this. We must tell our stories. We have a beautiful story to tell. Our ancestors created amazing legacies for us. You have to pardon me. Whenever I have opportunity, I say that Lagos is the crucible in which Nigeria was built. You can see we have been there hundreds of years, long before 1914. So we should be proud that our ancestors laid foundation for the prosperity of this great country. These Lagosians, don't let them castigate us as lazy, never do well another. Our parents, our ancestors trained us well. They left beautiful legacies. Let us rise to the occasion and live up to that legacy and that position of pride that they have put us into in the community of nation of this great country. It's not enough when people say it's a no man's land and we all start getting angry. Of course, it's because we've neglected our rights and that great acumen that has been bequeathed to us. So let us prove that we are achievers. Our ancestors are achievers. They paved the way for other achievers who came from other parts of the country, other parts of the world, to come and also find their golden fleece here. And like the former speaker said, went back home and they have built up their homes from the efforts of their achievements from Lagos. So I congratulate you, Prince, the Kosoko family. Thank you so very much for keeping the flag flying and letting them know that you are descendants of a great, great king and leader. Congratulations and thank you very much.
The Minister of Tourism, Mrs. Lola Ade-John, emphasized the need for continuous propagation of indigenous history.
I'm shocked that there's so much history that we didn't learn in school, and it is only at events like this that we get to hear this. It's my duty, especially in the tourism industry, to work with the Ministry of Education that this type of history is taught not only in universities, but also from primary school level and secondary school, so that we can maintain and we can know where we come from and where we are going to. I didn't realize that we had Fulanis in Lagos. I lived in Agboyi, so I didn't know that we had Fulanis. But I was also talking to my Honourable Commissioner. She says that even the name Ali Balogun also represents part history of the Ali family from Bida. So there's just so much, engaging with us, we get to learn these things. And honestly, for our children, we need to know a lot more. And I'm taking this back to the Ministry of Education, that we need to do something about it. Our history is very important to us. Thank you.
Tajuddin Oluyole Olusi provided an elaborate discussion on King Kosoko's impact and significant role in Lagos history. He shared personal anecdotes and emphasized King Kosoko's generosity and status as a prominent trader and king.
King Kosoko, as a prince, was a trader. When you trade, when you move from one place to the other, you acquire experience, you acquire knowledge. So King Kosoko was exposed as a prince. And maybe during this period, my brother was talking that something should not be exposed. because it's a false relationship with a woman. You know, it is already exposed. We have a saying in Yoruba, wọ́n ní ẹni tó bá ní ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ kò ní gbàyàwó létò òdìbò. Ẹni tó bá ní ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ kò ní gbàyàwó létò òdìbò. Àgbọ̀ bàbá wa kò sọ́kọ́ ọba kò tó gbàyàwó létò òdìbò. Àtọ́, you know, during that period, King Kosoko as a principal, a beautiful lady. And according to tradition, all he needs to do is to express his interest. And once that interest is expressed, that is all. So, Baba, Ito-omu. Ade-John was ti yọjú sí àwọn òbí tẹ́lẹ̀ pé ó fẹ́ fẹ́ ọmọ yìí. Nígbà tí ọmọ bá tẹ̀ sọ pé àwọn òbí ní ó ti lò torí àṣà mi nígbà yẹn lọ́mọ bàbá ti ní báyìí ó lò ní. So the then elétò òyìnbó, I think it was Oshobile, that fowl that as long as he lives, Kosoko will never become King of Lagos. So the first opportunity to use his position, then there was the second opportunity. The second opportunity at that time, my own ancestor, Prince Olusi, and Prince Abiolu, Prince Olukayode, and the last son of their father, Prince Ito-omu, were taking a decision that they should have a bite at the throne of Lagos, because it was at that time between the descendants, the children of H.R.H and the children of Adewale. Olufolarin was the son of Adewale. You also have Ito-omu, so you have son of Kosoko, son of H.R.H and son of Adewale. Two of them had become Oba. And so they thought they should have a bite. And then therefore supported the last born, because they were aged. And so they all supported Ito-omu. So I have told you that Prince Kosoko, was competent. He was a prominent business person, and he became the Oba who know all the circumstances. We are talking of the economy as at that time. Certainly, when somebody who is competent, somebody who has the technical know-how, assume the position, the headship, the rulership, definitely it must be progress. And one thing I want to cite as evidence of the buoyancy of that economy was that when Lagos was attacked, the British could not penetrate Lagos. King Kosoko was able to prevent British for 6 good days. British, that was described as the controller of the West. Britannia ruled the West. They were not able to enter, King Kosoko did that to the glory of Africa.
The Oni of Ife, Oni Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi, represented by Oloye Asabi Moronranti, the Aṣojú Àṣẹ Ilẹ̀ Oòduà, Oni Orisha, greeted the royalties and chieftains as well as everyone present at the event on behalf of the Oni of Ife, stating that the Oni asked her to put forward a question on how effectively train future generation in preserving our cultural heritage and tradition.
Bàbá ní kí gbogbo wa, wọ́n ní kí n ṣe wá pẹ̀lú ọ. Bàbá ní kí wá béèrè ìbéèrè kan tàbí méjì lọ́wọ́ gbogbo àwọn àtàwọn ilé yìí. Wọ́n ní báwo la ṣe tọ́ àwọn ọmọ wa. Wọ́n ní kí n béèrè lọ́wọ́ ara mi kí n dẹ̀ béèrè lọ́wọ́ gbogbo àwọn tó wà níbí. Pé kí là ń ṣe láti gbé àṣà àti ìṣe Yorùbá lárugẹ. Mélòó nínú àwọn ọmọ wa ló tiẹ̀ ti sọ èdè Yorùbá? Bàbá ní kí n sọ fún wa wípé we must preserve our cultural heritage. It is important to tell our stories. The narratives must be correct. We must let people know that culture is beautiful. Tradition must be sustained. Our traditions are not evil. Our culture must not be relegated. Wọ́n ní kí n parí ẹ̀ báyìí wípé ọ̀pọ̀ báṣọ̀rọ̀ là bókè òkú là bókúta irọ́ ọkùnrin wọn bá gbogbo ṣe.
The Alara of Ilara, Oba Olufolarin Olukayode Ogunsanwo, the 55th Alara of Ilara Kingdom, also acknowledged the significance of spreading and sharing the history and legacy of the Yoruba race. He noted that there are a lot to be learned from the heroic attributes of King Kosoko that will further help to promote unity and foster collective development across various communities in the Yoruba land.
We are very happy to be here today to celebrate the 163rd return of King Kosoko in this memorial lecture to Lagos for Nigeria, which is our own base in Lagos State. There is a lot has been said today, but one thing, or one or two things that I want us to go back over with is that King Kosoko has some special qualities which, if we look at our country today, if we can replicate it, we will definitely get out of the woods. Prince Kosoko was a leader, a courageous one at that. Prince Kosoko was resilient. He was there, he came back again, which means King Kosoko was very, very industrious. That's why he was very wealthy and he was generous by wanting his people to be prosperous. That is one of the things that is lacking in our midst today. And it's one lesson that we're taking back from there. He was diligent, and he also is also an intellect. A lot of professors are giving us their awards today we have had from them. And then the history, the legacy of his history is something that we should also note.
King Kosoko Memorial Lecture concluded with the unveiling and launching of a book titled King Kosoko, His Life, People and Settlements and Hidden Facts, H.R.H. Alhaji Muhammad Abubakar Bambado, the second Seriki Fulani of Lagos, anchored the official launching of the book and pledged a donation of 10 million naira.
To launch this important publication, the life and legacy of King Kosoko of Lagos have always stood as a beacon of history, culture, resilience, and today we gather not only to honor that legacy, but also to celebrate the wealth and knowledge captured in this book. The publication of this book comes at a time when the need to reflect on our cultural roots and historical legacy is more urgent than ever. It serves as a testament to the enduring influence of King Kosoko and his pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of Lagos and indeed Nigeria. I would like to commend the authors for their dedication to methodically researching and documenting this significant part of history. Their work not only preserves the memory of King Kosoko, but also provides an invaluable resource for future historians, scholars, and anyone eager to understand the foundations of our modern society. Ladies and gentlemen, with great honor, I hereby launch this book with the sum of 10 million naira.
The event underscored the importance of preserving Lagos' indigenous history and learning from the past to build a brighter future for Lagos and beyond. As King Kosoko Annual Memorial Lecture came to a close, leaving all present at the event, including the household of King Kosoko, feeling fulfilled and the esteemed dignitaries enlightened and treated with the legendary history of King Kosoko, after being reminded of the enduring legacy and the profound impact of understanding Lagos' indigenous history. Through insightful presentations and heartfelt reflections, reaffirming the people's commitment to preserving the cultural and traditional heritage and learning from the past.
My name is Wale Raji. I represented Peripheral Constituency in the House of Reps. King Kosoko at Tepe is well documented. It's been said so many times that in 1851, one move láti Eko nígbà tí crisis wà ní Lagos Island, as a result of the tussle for the throne of Lagos between him and King Kosoko, Prince Kosoko. So, and he came to Epe and was there from 1851 to 1861. After which he returned to Lagos Island, and the family has decided to be celebrating the return of King Kosoko from to Lagos Island. So, what's been celebrated is this year's edition of his return to Lagos from Epe. So, and I think it's something worth celebrating in preservation of our history, and heritage. So, I congratulate the organizers for preserving the history. From history, it's been described as a very brave, courageous prince. His reign on Lagos Island, Eko, was prosperous, and history has it that he was a very generous person, So, and there is bravery you know, was legendary. So, I mean, these are things that we've heard about him, and these are good, I mean, things to learn, you know, about him. And people, those of us who are living today, can learn one or two things from his history. History of generosity, history of bravery, history of good leadership.
My name is Lola Ade-John, the Minister of Tourism. Well, I mean, the history was well spoken about at the event. He's a very important man. He was very industrious. He was a trader. He was a hunter. You know, he was everything, and he was very powerful. And he's done a lot for the progression of Lagos. I admire him. Well, the truth is that we don't even know so much about our history. And because we don't know about our history, we can't also project the culture. You heard when they said we need to tell our stories. It's very important. And that's why I believe that the Ministry of Education should take it up so that right from primary school, we are taught our history in all the different parts of the country. It's not just history of Lagos, but also the history in the north, the east, the south, everywhere. Well, I mean, it was a bit more structured then, being that the population was less. We have a lot of migrants, economic migrants into Lagos now. But at the end of the day, Lagos is about resilience. It's about commerce. It's about the right kind of people, and it's not so much different from before, you know, and it shows a lot of promise.
Yeah, my name is Abiola Kosoko. I'm the Oloja-elect of Lagos. Of course, Lagos can never be a no man's land because I'm an indigene of Lagos. I'm not a citizen of Lagos. I'm an indigene of Lagos. So those that say Lagos is no man's land are all citizens of Lagos. They are residents of Lagos who pays their tax in Lagos. They live in Lagos, and they can live anytime in Lagos. I don't have nowhere to go, and Lagos is my home. Lagos is my indigenous home. It's my ancestral home, and I hold on to it for any time. Of course, you can see from what we got today, King Kosoko inherited the trade thing, and he also worked on it. So it is also obvious that for Lagos has been in existence as a trade settlement, a fishing settlement, a residential settlement for over 500 years before any other body comes in here. So it is not a sightseeing, it is a reality. So Lagos is a community center that has transformed into a business heaven for all types of people that live all over the world. And that's what you're seeing Lagos is enjoying today. So whatever you throw at Lagos, Lagos is ready to give you back in manifold. Yeah, what you guys should learn from King Kosoko is simple. 1, be generous. 2, ready not to give up. 3, ready to fight for your right. And extra 1 is be obedient and be humble.
Joket Silva. I run the Glover Memorial Hall. Yes, of course not. Nowhere, there's nowhere in the world that you say anywhere in the world is a no man's land. There were always people who are indigenous to any land in the world. So I honestly believe that, you know, I'll take what one of the speakers said, that Lagos has gone from, it's the rise and rise of Lagos from a pepper farm to a mega city. What I also find equally amazing is the way we are all intertwined. All right, there's a lot of history that has been said, that has been shared today, that I feel that it would be very important for us as a people to work with people in culture. The Ministry of Education should work with people in culture so that we can tell the proper history of our people, especially for the younger generation. There's a lot of division among us, which is unnecessary. If we look at our history and see how intertwined we were, you know, you had Lagosians being, you know, Aworis, Benis, you know, Yorubas, you know, there was that whole group. And then you then had the Fulanis as part of that culture. You had people from the East as part of it. So it is a shared history, is not expressed enough. You know, I think if we express our shared history in such a way that we show how we have intertwined, then the likelihood of anybody saying that Lagos is a no man's land will not even arise. All right, and that does not then necessarily need to create division. Oh wow, I thought he was an amazing king, you know, very resilient. I love the fact that even though someone had vowed, because of a situation in which their love interest had clashed, someone had vowed that, you know, he would never become king. He persisted and persisted and persisted, and I also love his political acumen, in which he kind of gave the British a run for their money, so that they had to accede to his demands at the end of the day. I thought that was incredible. Yes, I enjoyed. This afternoon was an eye-opener in the sense that a lot of history was shared, and because those who gave the lectures were so engaging, people sat down. People have been here since 12. They just left at past 5. That's incredible. That's incredible. The information that was shared was so engaging, so interesting, and was so all-encompassing for everyone, you know. I think the Kosoko family did, and especially His Royal Highness Abiola Kosoko, the Oloja elect. He's done, and we're always in conversation. We've been in conversation since we took over this place. You know, we've been in conversation discussing this kind of event here, and I'm glad it's finally been able to come here, and including the exhibition upstairs, which was amazing. Of course it will. On Kosoko, on all of them. You know, I really would love to see, you know, that's a film, documentaries. I think our former Attorney General actually did do a documentary that included the story. Mr. Shukwashashore, he actually did do a documentary on that included the Kosoko family. So I guess the next thing is a film. It's a feature film. It's a feature film.
Orúkọ mi ni Princess Abiola Kosoko. Ó jẹ́ alágbára èèyàn tí ò ṣe fọwọ́rọ́ sẹ́yìn nílùú Èkó yìí. So orúkọ yẹn kò dẹ̀ lè parẹ́ nílùú Èkó yìí. So akíkanjú èèyàn, alágbára èèyàn. Gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ṣe ti gbọ́ ìtàn ẹ̀. Kì í ṣe bíbá, kì í ṣe àárín Èkó yìí nìkan ló mọ̀. Ó dé púpọ̀ ìlú ni orúkọ yẹn dé. So mo dúpẹ́ pé mo jẹ́ kan nínú ọmọ Kosoko yẹn. Ẹ̀kọ́ tí a lè ní ká kọ́ àwọn ọmọ wa kò ju pé nísìn a ti mọ irú èèyàn tí Kosoko jẹ́. So a ti mọ irú akíkanjú, a ti mọ gbogbo ipa tó kó. Púpọ̀ wa la ti gbọ́ ìtàn tí wọ́n sọ nípẹ̀. So nǹkan tó fi jẹ́ pé àwọn ọmọ wa ẹ jẹ́ ká gbìyànjú ká jẹ́ kó máa mọ ìtàn ilé. Orí ìtàn ó ṣe pàtàkì so that ibi tí wọ́n bá lọ, tí wọ́n bá dé, tí wọ́n bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa pé níbo lẹ ti wá, kí ni ìtàn yín, wọ́n á lè sọ nípa ìtàn yẹn. Ẹ má jẹ́ ká fi ìtàn pamọ́ fún àwọn ọmọ wa.
As King Kosoko Memorial Lecture comes to a close, we hope our discussion and insights will spark further discussion about our rich heritage and culture. Thank you for staying tuned on this special occasion at Eko Hot Blog. Do not forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at Eko Hot Blog. I am Inumidun Jelugbo reporting for Eko Hot Blog.